So, I'm going to do a quick video on the VAGEDC15 tuning suite. Basically, show you a little bit about it. I'll do more in depth down the road, but I'll show you a little bit about how it works. A couple of easy things you can try right off. If you go, so when you get onto it, you go to File, open your file. Here's my files. I'll pull up a manual tune. This is for the ALH motor 1.9. So it pulls up your tune. One of the easy things you can do is go to Actions, and you can add launch control into the file, which is pretty legit. So basically what you do is you circle over the button, click it just like that, it adds it in, and then basically we're going to go over to our detected maps column and look for wherever it added it. I wasn't paying attention. It's right here, launch control. So basically, if you have an auto, you have to do code block 4 and 1, depending if it's the DSG or just plain auto. And if you have a manual, it's code block 2. So this is a manual. We'll click on code block 2, double click it, it brings up our table. Just see if I can make that a little larger. What do we got here? Alright, so here's our table. So it's RPMs on top, all the way to 5,300, and our kilometers an hour is on the side. So basically what you want to do is you want to figure out what you want your RPM to be set at for launch control. So you figure that out in your head. Safe bets like between 2,800 and 3,400 usually. Then you just right click anywhere on this, and we're gonna edit the X-axis engine speed, and it brings up this tab here, which is not gonna let me slide it over. Maybe it is. There we go. Pull that back up because it glitched out. Okay, so we're gonna click on this to edit. Basically 32 and 3,500. We're gonna clear that all out, and we're gonna do around a 50 to 100 RPM gap. So we'll do 33 25 0 for RPMs. So then it's gonna bounce between 75 RPMs, and then we're going to hit save, which is that little button right there. Close it out, and now if you look up here, you can see our gap is 32.55 to 33.25. So basically, then what you're going to do is figure out the amount of speed you want. So you can hit the gas as long as you're going 0 or anywhere under the speed. It will only rev up to 3,300. As soon as you go over that, then it will go right back to normal. So we'll just say, for example, 9.4 kilometers an hour, and we're gonna set this just like this. My bad. Click this one actually, because we don't want to go above that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna select it, right click on it. Actually, no. We're gonna select it all, just like this. Come up to here. We're going to fill, and we're going to change this to 0, and then we hit this button, execute, and it's changed that whole block. So now how it works is anywhere up to 3,300 RPMs, it gets full 100 milligrams of fuel, which it never uses that much. It's just how they measure it. And anywhere after that RPM, it drops to 0, so that gives you that hard cut. And as soon as your speed goes above 9.4, which would be 12.5, then it goes wide back open to that full amount. So then you would just hit save and close. And that's the simple way to add in launch control. A couple other things you can do. You have your EGR. So this is what the stock EGR table looks like. It's again based off of RPM and fueling, milligrams per stroke. Basically, the way to do this is select all of this, go to fill, and change it to 0, and execute it, and then you no longer have EGR. Again, hit save on it, close. So that's how to turn off your EGR. This one lets you set target boost. I would not mess anywhere under your 35 milligrams. I wouldn't mess with boost under that. Just leave that section alone. Anything after that, from here up, you can mess with like this. So we'll say you definitely want to worry about the RPM too, because if you put it too low, you can bend a rod. So we'll say 1700 RPM. We want it to be, again, we'll put it to fill, 2000 millibar, which gets us to two bars. So that's 32 psi, basically 31, minus your atmosphere 14.7. So you're right around, I'm trying to think here, that should be like 16 psi, somewhere around there. I'm having a rough time with the math. And then you hit save on that. Then target boost limiter. This is when you get your boost spikes. If it happens too long, it will go into limp mode, so you have to adjust this so it's not constantly going into limp. So usually just bump this up by the amount you increase the other one, which was 50. So we'll do another 50. That bumps that up. Save it, close. And then your guard, which is, again, just has to be what you're using. So that would be 2000. Save that. And that's that. And then your other ones are your driver's wish. I forget what this one does. I believe this is your cruise control. I can't really remember how this one works, but it has to be adjusted along with your smoke limiter maps to this. Make sure at maximum 850 they're the same. A simple way, it's not the best to do, but you can do it, is select anywhere after 65% throttle and RPM over, call it over 1400. You can just add a few times, get it to like a safe. I wouldn't go above like 45 for, unless you're full throttle. Then 51 is probably most for stock. You can kind of mess with it a little bit here and there. You can add a little bit. Then you can select the whole table and you can right click it and smooth it just to make the graph look a little better. Again, be very careful with it. You put too much, you're gonna hurt your car. Don't do it unless you know what you're doing. Then your torque limiter, this has to be adjusted for your tune to work. So this is based on how much boost you have. So 1 bar, 14 psi. Remember, atmosphere is included, so you have to adjust this based on that. Anything above 1400 RPMs, this will hit most. This is your limiter. So if you have it set on your driver's wish to 50 milligrams, it has to be 50 on here, otherwise it will not work. So we'll call it 50, add it just like that, save it. Smoke limiter, this again, this is RPM, so 1400. From there up to your 4200, you add in the amount you want. So once you're getting X amount of air at this RPM, you get this much fuel. smooth it if you want to do that. Just be careful with it. I'm not going to save that one. Trying to think of what some other ones are. Torque limiter, if you go back to this and you want to do a hard cut, like you're boosting it and your wheels are spinning, you can set a hard rev limiter here. So we could do like anything above 4200. We would just take this, fill it to 0, and then between 4100 RPMs and 42, it's gonna cut, and then the RPMs are gonna fall back down and then rise. So it'll be like a fast, almost popcorn effect, but not quite. And then once you're done with all that, you can go back to actions, and it has view performance, which it's obviously not correct 100%, but it's got to be pretty close from what I hear. So you go to Dyno Graph view, and you can see based on the little tuning we did, it bumps it to 300 Newton meters. So if you were to figure that out, that would be 221 foot-pounds of torque, so it'd add about 70, and 135 brake horsepower from your stock 90. So pretty good increase. And just to show you that works, I'll pull up another file here. I'll do one that I set to 17 psi. Pull this up and go to performance. See, this one's different. This one's got 142 horsepower, a little more on the top end, and then it hard cuts right here, drops all power. So yep, that's a basic how to use it. When you get done, you save the file, you pick what you want to call it, just like that, hit save. It'll ask you to do that, and then always make sure you go to actions and verify checksums. If you don't verify them, there's a chance it could be missing one, and you go to upload it and it will break your ECU, so you always have to make sure you check that. And yep, that's basically it. I would get more in depth if you guys want me to get in depth, kind of pull up some other tunes that I have and kind of see how the maps look. Like this one, you can see how I set up the driver wish, torque limiter, how it's set with a hard cut at the end, smoke limiters, all that. So let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.